One. Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Yo Brother podcast. I'm your host, Archie Herbert, joined by my great friend Luke Wilson.
Hi, everyone.
Thought we'd do it different. I thought I'd host it today. Well, it's been a lot of doom and gloom lately in the media with the protests and riots going on, and we thought we'd change it up a bit, make it a bit of an interesting podcast. And Luke, you pointed out to me literally earlier, which I've never sort of seen before. NASA actually released some sort of footage about aliens.
Yeah, I think this was a few months back now. There was a piece of footage from a fighter jet. They had in sight a UFO, and they were saying that they didn't know what it was, and it was going against the winds and stuff, and it was a bit weird to be doing what it was doing. So yeah, that kind of poked up our interest on the whole aliens and stuff this week. So yeah, I know that you've got some stuff that you want to talk about that honestly that I didn't really know about.
Yeah.
Some stuff before. So yeah, let's just kick it off with whatever you've got.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty passionate. I've got a few theories about the aliens. Firstly, with them releasing this footage, I'm thinking they're quite vocal about this now. Like, they're not beating around the bush. They're sort of there like, oh, are there aliens sort of thing, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I think it was a bit weird with everything else going on as well. At the start of the year, and they just chucked out this bit of footage. It was a bit random.
They're just, they're warming us up for, Independence Day, July the 4th, because it's going to be a massive fuckery. But
Potentially, with the way the world's going.
I guess the big question now, it's already answered: do aliens exist? It's not answered, but our points are they've got to exist. You know what I mean? The universe is so big; it can't just be us, one living, intelligent life form.
There's been plenty of sightings with stuff like this before, and I know the big one that dated back to like 1950, I believe.
The Roswell Incident, yeah, in New Mexico.
Yeah, so I know that you've had a bit of research on that. You've got a bit of a better understanding than I have on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want to talk a bit about that.
I mean, so with the Roswell Incident, it's quite sort of it's sort of I'll just give a brief one. So there was a crash happening in Roswell, New Mexico, and it was believed to have some sort of made out of metals and materials not of this earth, basically. And I think the farmer that owns sort of the land there went to check it out, saw that it was not of this planet, contacted the authorities. They came down, and then they released a statement saying it was a flying saucer. And then I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if this is accurate, but upon more discovery, they found a body. I've seen pictures of it. I don't know if it's actually Photoshop or not, but it's like quite a small little body of an alien. And then the government proceeded to go back on their statement and sort of just say it was a load of shit. And so they said they tried to back it up with it being, I think, a part of a blimp, but they still admitted that they lied about the alien thing. So they've just made themselves less trustworthy, saying, yeah, we lied about the alien thing, but that's only to cover up from this, if you get what I mean. And it's sort of like playing a mind game where you just don't know what to believe. But that's what happened in New Mexico, Roswell, in 1959, I think.
I mean, honestly, I'm not surprised that there's been more than one, situation, like cases of aliens crashing and them covering it up. So, like you said, Roswell in New Mexico, America, where a lot of things happen, which people might not know, is there was actually one in Ipswich in England.
Mm-hmm.
I only found it out today. To be honest, I was looking up a little bit of research on Roswell and stuff, and came across the Rendlesham landing. It's called.
Please elaborate on this.
This happened in 1980, the 27th of December. So this was literally 2 days after Christmas, and next to an airbase, there was a UFO that landed, and the actual, the deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, and several of his men actually witnessed it. So there's been some sort of physical evidence that were left behind, and the British military radars was left behind.
Okay.
and there's been
Yeah.
impressions in the ground and stuff like that. And if you actually go there, there's a UFO trail on a walk that you can do, which I think sounds quite interesting, which I'd like to do one day. Just have a little look at it, see what it is. But yeah, I think it's just one of them ones where they'll just try and cover it up and just play it off as if it's some sort of tourist attraction, like a lot of places do. Yeah, like you said about the Roswell.
hmm I feel like a big thing of this is if there are aliens, what are they doing coming to Earth, sort of thing. Because my point of view on Earth is we are so behind of where we should be at the moment. And I'm guessing if there are extraterrestrials out there, they must be so highly advanced. Why would they want to come to this planet and
Then
sort of
I
like?
mean, let's just say that they are not like in control of us and they're just checking in. You never
hmm
know. Could be.
There's that. I like to think of it as say how long has humanity been around? Would you say so? About how many years? What 10,000 years? Would you say?
I mean, it just depends on when you date back to humanity, essentially.
All right, say about that long.
So,
So humanity
so
have
we
been
know.
around. Let's round it up to about 10,000 years. Humanity have been
Yeah.
around for about 10,000 years, and look how far we've come throughout that 10,000 years. But the universe is about 13.8 billion years old. So extraterrestrials and alien life forms could have well over millions and billions of years to evolve technologically and just advance their life form. So a thing that I'm thinking, and I've lost my point now. The thing I'm thinking is we have such little time to work with, and what we've worked with, aliens are much more advanced based on the amount of time that they've had.
Oh yeah, 100%. I know what you mean. But going back to like how long we've been on the Earth for, pretty sure like the first signs of humans and Homo sapiens and stuff was like millions of years ago.
hmm
So yeah, we've been around for a while. I can only imagine how long aliens could be around for.
Have you
Uh,
heard of a theory where with the dinosaurs, a massive meteor strike came down, wiped out life on this planet? Have you heard of a theory that that meteor strike could have been an alien spaceship and could have had what we are now today, humans, to colonize and invade and reproduce on this planet?
that's quite a good theory, to be fair. It's quite interesting. It's quite a good point to put out there because it's like, who's to say that that didn't happen? It'd be
It could
quite
be
cool to
possible.
think that we. I think that aliens could potentially be humans, but from the future or something that might have time traveled. I don't know. It could be because as well. What I think of it as well is that I'm pretty sure over the last few years that the average height of humans have been increasing. So you get some people nowadays that are like 6'8", 6'10",
Yeah,
stuff like that, and you got to think if you even when you just I know it's just films and stuff that you see and like the images of aliens, they're tall. They're kind of in similar form to a human. So like they got the head, they got the arms, legs. They're just like kind of like a tall human.
yeah.
So essentially, can you imagine if they are from say 1,000 years in front of us,
hmm
and they might have like grown up to 8 foot by then, 9 foot, and that's the average height of an alien. Long arms, long legs, like, of a human. Sorry, you don't know. Like that's my theory on it is that they could potentially be humans from the future, and that's why they've got such good technology to be able to travel so well. Because you've got to think of the technology that we've got to just be able to travel to space, like we said before with Elon Musk. He's like crazy smart, and that's just like the basic of things, kind of. Because imagine like using that development and just developing that technology in the future. Who's to say that 1,000 years time, time travel might be invented? You don't know. And if that's a thing, and if we can travel through time and space at that point, then they might be able to explore and find other galaxies, and then find out a bit more about aliens. And you
hmm
don't know. My theory is on it that aliens have already done that, and they might have colonized Earth because it could be a similar planet to another one in another galaxy or dimension or whatever you want to say
Yeah.
that is habitable.
Yeah.
Because we're not meant to really be here, are we? Like I think we've spoke about it before. The water isn't drinkable.
Yeah. 70% of this of water on this earth is salt water, and we cannot drink it.
We can't survive being in the sun for too long because of obviously
Skin
like you
cancer.
get skin cancer and stuff. Um, like it's just two things that have just been there from the start: sun and water. Like surely we would have maybe I don't know adapted or
That's
something.
where evolution comes into play.
Yeah, and I've personally I do believe in evolution and stuff like that, but it's just a bit weird that like the water isn't drinkable and that we're not meant to be, you know, I just don't feel like we're meant to be on this planet compared to other things that are naturally here.
Hmm. I think evolution is such a massive topic to talk about, especially regarding space and all that, because it can counteract each other. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Say with evolution, like say we're not meant to be here. Do you reckon that maybe animals on this planet are? If you get what I mean, they must be
Yeah.
habited before that. Because you think of evolution, think about it. A bee is perfectly made compared to a flower, where bee goes to it, collects pollen.
Yeah.
What a coincidence! If you get what I mean.
Yeah, it goes, collects pollen, spreads the pollen, it makes honey, it survives like that. We have to go get water, filter it so we can
Hmm.
drink it and use it.
It's all about adaptability and evolution and being able to evolve
Yeah.
as a
We have to
species.
hide from the sun. Like, even if you think back in like caveman times,
Hmm.
they would probably try and shelter from the sun sometimes because they'd probably burn.
I think their skin must be so rigid and so like pretty much like leather. And think
Yeah.
about would cavemen be Neanderthals?
It's no clue. I mean,
I'm guessing they would be because
they
they're
would have
not.
been evolving and developing how to survive there and then.
I'm pretty sure they
So
would be the early signs of a human coming out of just becoming an ape. If you get what I mean, they're slowly evolving.
yeah, so then how comes they can survive in the sun and stuff like that? I guess they probably would die of skin cancer and they just wouldn't know what it was.
I mean,
Um,
essentially, cavemen are just meatheads. You know, they're not intelligent. If
oh yeah,
anything,
of course.
cavemen would probably have the intelligence of like a 2-year-old child in
Who
our
would,
in our day and age.
what I'm trying to think of as well is like, so like people burn, like you
Hmm.
burn from the sun. Um, but obviously I know that's stuff to do with biology and stuff like that as to why you burn and stuff like that and what your body produces to help. I'm trying to think of the word. I want to say melanin.
It ultimately depends on where you are in the on Earth. If you're in sort of like say in Africa or in Australia, hotter parts of the Earth, your skin would be more sustainable to the sun. Whereas
Yeah,
if you're in England, if you're in Ireland, Scotland, the northern side of the Earth, north side of the equator, you wouldn't be as adaptable to the sun as the southern side.
yeah, which is obviously because you're adapting to your climates, which
Yeah.
is fair enough. But it's just again crazy the fact that something just so consistent as the water that we have on planet Earth and
Hmm.
the sun is just affects us terribly. Like we can so if we intake too much of the sea, so the salt water, it dries our lungs out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's cool to know this. People probably don't already, but I learned that the way you drown is that your lungs dry out because of the salt, and then blood rushes to your lungs, and it fills up your lungs.
Yeah, I know you're about. You die of suffocation of your own lungs.
Yeah.
You drown
So
in your own blood.
yeah, which is crazy. You die of suffocation rather than like
Hmm.
being drowning, like rather than drowning. It's weird, but again, like I said, I feel like going back to aliens and stuff. I feel like they could have placed us on this planet, watch us colonize it, and turn it into a new habitat for us.
Now, going back onto aliens and putting us on this planet, could you link like we'll bring religion into this, not massively, but the story of Adam and Eve? Could you say it's such a sensitive topic, religion? Could you say that Adam and Eve maybe weren't put on this earth by God, but God was a hierarchy, if you get what I mean?
Yeah.
He was
See,
placed on this
like,
earth by God, but God is known as a higher being,
yeah,
omniscient, omnipotent, and such.
yeah. Which obviously we don't want to go against anyone's views and stuff. It's crazy. Like, I'm religious, you're not so much, so we can have a conversation and talk about it all day long. I'll be open to anything on people's opinions. It's obviously just our opinions before we
Hmm.
get into anything, so we don't want to offend anyone or anything. But
At the
yeah,
end of the day, these are just theories, conspiracies.
you could look at these stories throughout religion and try and link them up with your own theories, which is what I do sometimes. So I like to believe that God is a higher being, and you don't know what God is. God is not a human.
Hmm.
We know that because Jesus was in human form. Um, I mean, like, I don't read the Bible religiously. Um, pardon the pun, but yeah,
Fuck's
but
sake.
like, I mean, you could turn around and like look at the stories like Adam and Eve, where it's been two people have been placed on the earth, and say, and then if you just look at it differently, so okay, ignore God, ignore God putting a man and a woman together on it, and
Hmm.
let's look at it as an alien has taken two, you know, creatures from their species that can reproduce and place them onto a planet so they can, you know, colonize, like I said. And basically, it might just be that Adam and Eve might just be one and two. They might have chucked, you know, six and six. You don't know. It's just the basic story of you've got one, you've got another one, they reproduce.
Yeah.
And then obviously they're going to have to reproduce, and they're going to have to reproduce, and they're going to have to reproduce. So I know there's a lot of other, you know, theories on this. Like, I believe we had a slight conversation with our friend Patrick on it, and he gave a great speech on it as to how there could be, you know, these creatures, and they were the species, and there's like 50A, and there's one B.
Hmm.
These 50A might try and reproduce with this 1B because the 1B that's developed differently, and then that's when you get like survival of the fittest and natural selection and stuff like that. It's the genes from B would then be carried over to the offspring. So
Okay.
it'd be like, so let's say there's me and there's someone else, and I'm A. I'm just a standard, you know, I'm just a standard human being. And then there was this mutation to, let's say that we could now be able to climb trees better, or, you know, breathe underwater for longer. So someone's born with gills, let's say.
Hmm.
So everyone's going to want to be able to have that. Like, it's going to be attracted to that, like, in an animalistic way, basically, because it's animal, you know, nature. They would reproduce with that person, and then so the natural selection, the mutation of gills passed down into the offspring, and then that's when you get, you know, 50 reproducing the one. That's another 50 of the one. If you get what I
Yeah.
mean. So the
Yeah, I
50B,
understand what you mean.
1A, the other way around, and it just expands out like that. So there's that, which is where evolution comes in, which is fair enough. You start off as bacteria in the earth, and it just eventually evolves. But I like the theory of aliens, and my theory is that aliens have placed us here because I don't think we're meant to be here because we haven't developed very well considering how long we've been here to the
Hmm.
situation that we live in now. Um, and yeah, we're just a lot smarter than the animals that are here. We're the only ones that have a voice box, I'm pretty sure.
We're the only ones that can actually have, make words. I guess. Well, a parrot can make words, but they're sort of it's
That's more
something with their
intimate,
tongue. They're
like,
mimicking their
yeah, mimicking
muscles or something.
sounds and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But
But,
moving on from evolution, right, I do want to talk about my favorite conspiracy theory involving aliens, and that is the creation of the Great Pyramids of Giza. is a fascinating one. So obviously the Pyramid of Giza, they were built apparently between 2500 BC and 2490 BC, and built to honor the gods of Egypt. So these pyramids, I'll give you some information on them, just for you to realise the absolute, how huge it was. So the height of it recorded to be 480 feet, and the width of it to be 756 feet. Each side being about 5.5 acres long. This is a huge pyramid. This is the Great Pyramid I'm talking about, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how the angles at each base are nearly perfect enough to a 90-degree angle. So these architects, they've had a high understanding of mathematics.
Yeah, I think that is like just crazy. And again, if you look at the gods of Egypt and stuff like that, I don't know too much about it, but I've seen some of the gods in Egypt, how they look different.
I don't know. I'm not too familiar with the gods of Egypt. Do you know the massive cat? What's that called? Do you know what I'm on about?
There is some. I'm currently just getting some up now. Just have a look at some images, just to describe some of the way they look. So there's a very famous one called Anubis. Anubis is a jackal, so he's like a big dog essentially. And it's stuff like this that when you look, and if you look at other gods in other mythologies like Roman, Greek, they're all human based.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Egypt, you've got all these gods here. So like a couple of them look human. Some of them have like the head of a bird, the head of a cat, head of a dog. Like I can't think of the names right now. I can try and get some names up so people can have a look. But if people just look up, literally gods of Egypt, it will come up with the films as well. But just the mythology of Egypt is very fascinating. And with the hieroglyphics and stuff, they draw what they see.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. So, like, they've literally drawn pictures of weird creatures that they see and worship.
Yeah,
so,
you showed me these pictures earlier.
Yeah, so, like, these gods could be aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are alien because we don't know of them. They're not natural to us. But they could be, extraterrestrial if you want to use the correct terminology. And yeah, like I showed you earlier with the hieroglyphics and stuff. So if you actually go onto Google Images and just type in hieroglyphics aliens, it will come up with all sorts. But there's one where let me get it up. But one that I showed you, there's literally one that's a helicopter.
Yeah, it's plain and obvious it's a helicopter.
See, it's a helicopter. There's another couple that look, maybe like planes, maybe, but this one is definitely a helicopter.
There's going to be skeptics out there that obviously don't believe in aliens and all that stuff. But if you actually look at these hieroglyphics, they are famous hieroglyphics, or they are famous Egyptian hieroglyphics. It is so clear that it's a helicopter. It just looks like a helicopter. That's the thing. And I think there's another one. There's like a car, or there's definitely an aeroplane one.
Yeah, I believe it kind of looks like a spaceship mixed with an aeroplane. It's a bit of a weird one. It's kind of like round with the tail on the end, similar to a helicopter. So again, it's way too obvious that it could be a helicopter, which is why people believe in time travel.
Yeah.
And again, it could be, but then it's kind of weird. Why were they made? Why would people travel back in time to Egypt? And they could have had a say in the pyramids, in building the pyramids. Well, to be fair, I think they must have.
Because
when you look at
as in time travelers.
Well, yeah, if you look at the weight and stuff of what the pyramids are made from, and stuff like that, I know it's just like ridiculous amounts of mass being carried.
Right, yeah. So let's touch on this because I've actually got it down here. So roughly 2.3 million stones it has taken to build the Great Pyramid, and each stone weighing between 2.5 to 15 tons. So, if it's created between 2490 BC to 2550, it's apparently taken 23 years to finish it, and that means every block needed put down every 2 minutes, every day of a week for the next 23 years. That is mental. Now, the obvious thing that could be said is they had enough manpower. If, say, a slave was to die of exhaustion, it would literally in them days be just chuck another one back in.
Yeah, there is that side of it that you could just chuck slaves in and do the work.
But they are perfectly aligned with the what's it called? I'm trying to think of a word. They're like perfectly aligned with the magnetic north.
Yeah, it's some weird stuff like that, and as well, I think if you look at some other things, like there's some other temples and stuff that are pyramids around the world.
Mm-hmm.
That it's kind of weird, like it's built like that, and like they wouldn't have just got the materials and built it in that. They would have had to build the blocks and bring the blocks and build it up.
But what's also
So,
strange with that, you mentioned other pyramids around the world. None of them are near enough as preserved as the pyramids of Egypt. And them pyramids that you're referring to, one in, is it Argentina? Did you say?
Giza. I'm just
These other
gonna have a little.
pyramids,
Oh yeah.
the Great Pyramids of Giza, are centuries older than these other pyramids. They also align with the Orion's belt perfectly, each three pyramids lining perfectly with it.
Yep.
It's just my theory on this. I had a theory with, obviously, I think aliens or extraterrestrials, they've had help building these pyramids because it's near enough impossible to build it within that amount of time and for it to be so perfect and preserved. My theory was, could it be? It's kind of like the film Transformers. You know when they had like the secret base in the pyramid, and they're trying to get to it in Revenge of the Fallen. I feel like it kind of can be like that because it's worship for the gods. Who's to say these gods are actually aliens? Like what you touched on earlier.
I know that there's been some stuff that people have looked at, and like so, there's loads around the world. So there's like China, Mexico, Egypt. Obviously, you got United States, Turkey, Indonesia, France, Canary Islands, Italy. That's literally I've got 6 up right here, and just tells me whereabouts they are. And apparently, there's like theories, I believe, that they're all obviously pointed at the top because they're the pyramids and stuff. That they could be used as some sort of what's the word? Like communication devices.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like obviously the top point creates can create energy and stuff like that, and it can be used for that because they're all scattered around the world, which I think is a good theory to look into in conspiracies and stuff. That these towers and pyramids and stuff are made not just to worship these gods, but to use as communication through aliens, pretty much, with the stuff that they've got. And yeah, like they're just crazy how they're built and the purpose of them. But yeah, like the one in Egypt is just so heavy, and that's why I believe with the hieroglyphics showing helicopters, a helicopter could like carry one of them, couldn't it? Could it carry a block,
I
like
guess
one
so.
of the blocks?
Good old cargo Bob from GTA.
I mean, it'd just be a lot quicker and more powerful, obviously, and stronger than humans carrying them. So, like, who's to say that there wasn't a helicopter back then?
Well, I mean, there are other theories that maybe they built a ramp. But again, how big is this ramp? And also, there are blueprints. There are blueprints of the pyramid.
Dragging it up. You're gonna have to be dragging it up to the pyramid.
Yeah, there were no wheels created in during this time. The wheel weren't created. They didn't have work animals. They were doing this like proper hand by hand carrying it.
Yeah. So I think the pyramids is one to is crazy to get into. I would love to go to Egypt and see them, and just try and learn a little bit more about them in Egypt and stuff. And even got to think about, is it called the Sphinx?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. The Sphinx. That was what I was thinking of.
Like that's crazy. Why has that been made as well, alongside the pyramids?
It's just something to worship, I guess. I'm not too educated on all of this. I'm just educated on the theory, the conspiracy.
Yeah, I know. That's what we're here to talk about. It's just the conspiracies and the theories and stuff. Obviously, we should probably do a lot more research into it because it is very interesting. But it's what we've looked at and what our opinions are on it. And I think Egypt is just crazy.
All right. So, final conclusion, especially on the pyramids of Giza. Do you think aliens helped build the pyramids?
Yes, I believe there was help from others. I don't think it was just sheer manpower from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Just
I think, imagine if we got it all wrong and there were these people, these Egyptians, like working their arse off for 23 years to build this pyramid just for us back in our time to go, you know what it was? It was aliens. That would be quite funny.
yeah, but we just wouldn't know. I don't think we'd know. I think only thing we can go against now is, the only thing we can go for now is that it was people literally using sheer manpower. That's the only kind of evidence we've got.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other explanations other than the theories of aliens.
I think, yeah, that you said it perfectly there. Um, shall we elaborate? Have you got any other theories for today?
I think. Do you know what? I think I'd love to talk about like all sorts. I think we've got loads of stuff we could say about aliens, but I think the main thing we spoke about today has been covered. We can always do conspiracies in the future. We love them.
Love conspiracies.
I mean, we'd love to like hear people's conspiracies and what people's views are on them. Obviously, we're happy enough to just ramble on,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what we're here for.
Well, that's been
Yeah.
our podcast on aliens. We've covered the pyramids of Giza and the Roswell incident, or the Ipswich incident, which is crazy. I never even knew about. Just a little information for next week's podcast. The Premier League is returning. Our podcast will be solely based on that, and we've got a special guest coming on.
Yeah, this
That'll
will
be
be our
fun.
first guest. First guest. I'm looking forward to it.
It will be very fun. Next week's podcast. Well, do you have any sort of message to give to the people this week, Luke?
Don't be blinded by the media, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to catch us out. No, but honestly, just do your research and things. Don't always believe what's been given in front of you. There's always a hidden message in things. So don't beat yourself up over things, too much about it. Just research, find out what you want to find out, and yeah, just enjoy your life, man. There's no point in stressing about things that you can't control.
Well, on that note, roll the outro.